Okay, so let us consider right now. Like previously, what we had seen is that if the asset prices, we had a binomial tree, but when we had that particular binomial tree, we didn't consider things, how things are changing as a function of time. So let us say that one movement that is there on the binomial tree corresponds to a time period delta t. Okay, the probability, there is a p that it goes up from s, it will go up with the value us, down it will go with the value vs. Okay, the u and v we define this way. Okay, this thing is the variance. We'll be studying more about it later on also in the Black-Scholes equation, the continuous formulation. Okay, the variance that is there, multiplies the delta t. You'll see why it is delta t just in a moment. And then after the probability also that is there, because there are two things, there is up and down movement. That's the reason you're having a delta t, the variance for that. And also the variance appears here, but this probability will have an extra factor of mu. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, now the expected price that is there in this time delta t will obviously just be probability that times the upper value plus 1 minus probability times the lower value. Okay, this thing will just be the average value, the expected value. Okay, because it goes up with the probability v, comes down with the probability 1 minus v, so that is what the expected value is going to be. Okay, just take this and multiply. What we are having is, this thing is 1 by 2, we have just plug this, p here, u here, 1 minus p here, v here. Yeah, note that in these two terms, difference only is that both the positive signs are there, both negative signs are there. Okay, so then obviously the contributions that are going to come in are, where the negatives are basically going to multiply each other. So what you will have is this mu multiplied by delta t, mu delta t. This thing has to be a delta t here, sorry. Okay, so there'll be a delta t here. When you multiply this factor with this factor here, what you're going to get is a sigmas will cancel, mu will multiply by delta t. Okay, and then the another factor that is just going to be there is this 1 by 2 times 1. So what we'll have is these two factors that are there, will be adding up from both the sides. That will give a factor of 1 plus mu delta ts. The other portions that are there, the cross terms that are there in this multiplications, this multiplied by 1 by 2 multiplied by this will cancel over here with this multiplied by 1 by 2 and this multiplied by 1. So what we get is an expression that the expected value that is there at expected price of the asset at time delta t is just this factor multiplied by s. So obviously the change that is there divided by s, which is called a return, goes as mu times delta t. Okay, and this thing is what you generally see as far as the average values go. This is one particular model which will be basically over here. This thing is called the drift. That's the reason you have chosen this thing as a delta t factor over here. Okay, note another thing over here. If you look at the variance, okay, well anyway, don't forget that right now. Okay, so this thing is mu times delta t. Okay, so the drift that is there, the returns that are there are basically going to be on an average expected return that is there is going to go as mu times delta t. This mu is called the drift. Okay, so on an average what you'll be having is that the return that is there is going as mu times delta t. Okay, yeah. Now another thing that we could measure is the standard deviation in the price. The standard deviation is just determined by how much it goes up minus the average value squared times the probability it went up times how much it went down minus average value squared times the probability it went down. In that particular case, just make the substitution. The up that is there was mu times s, average value we have just evaluated, down that was there was v times s, average value we have just evaluated, probabilities that are there are given to you, which are given by this and this. Okay, then what we'll have is here, collect the s outside and group this as u minus 1 from here, group this as v minus 1 from here. Okay, once we have that, what we can see is as far as these values of mu and v that are there, which are given to us, from these values of u and v, we can see that u minus 1 is sigma delta t, v minus 1 is minus sigma delta t. Okay, just plug that in over here. U minus 1 is sigma delta t, there is the minus mu dt, v minus 1 is minus sigma delta t, that thing gets squared and the minus minus become plus here. Yeah, then what we have is, in this particular case, what we are having is when we basically multiply these two, once we square this, what we'll have is the positive. We are basically going to be having terms like this. Okay, as far as this particular term goes, what we'll be having is mu squared dt squared. Okay, this thing is going to be sigma squared dt. Okay, similarly you're going to have the same thing here, and then after there's a cross term. Okay, now once you're going to multiply that with this terms here, okay, the 1 by 2 that is there multiplies, when you're looking at the 1 by 2 terms over here, okay, you're having a 1 by 2 multiplying, right? So 1 by 2 is multiplying this term, 1 by 2 is multiplying this term. When you're summing these two by themselves, okay, what you'll have is the cross multiplications that are there are going to cancel out. Only the squares, individual squares, are going to add. So all you will get is here is sigma squared dt plus mu squared dt squared, and since there are two of them, will cancel by 1 by 2. You're going to get this term. Okay, now as far as the cross terms that are there, they're going to be coming into the play in multiplying this term, because they're coming with the opposite sign. Okay, so as far as the cross terms go, the cross term here is just basically, they're going to two cross terms, they're coming with the same magnitude, because that's a 2 factor. Then the cross term is basically 2 sigma delta t times mu dt, okay, times this factor that we have, times cross mu delta t t square. Okay, collect the terms that are there over here. Okay, what you will see is that this thing is also of the order of d squared, sigma sigma dt squared, sigma sigma is going to cancel, and there's the u squared here, but it's coming with a factor of -2. So because of that, it's coming with a factor of -2. So because of that, what you get is, it's going to cancel with this term, and it's going to give you something like this, mu d squared minus mu squared dt squared. For very small values of dt, what we are seeing is that this term is going to be very small compared to this term. So all you're getting is that the standard deviation that is there is going to go as s sigma times delta t. Okay, so the standard deviation of asset price change, so standard deviation of returns is just divided by that's sigma times delta t. Okay, so the drift that is there, the average value of the returns that is there, on an average, change in the return value is going to go as mu dt, and the standard deviation in the return essentially is going by a factor of square root of t, and the term multiplying is the variance. So that is why these two factors are important. The sigma that is there is telling you something about the standard deviation, but it's multiplying with the factor of delta t square root. The mu that is there is telling you about average value of the average value of change of the asset value divided by asset value, and that is dependent on mu, but it comes with a factor of dt. Okay, so this thing corresponds to log normal distribution, which we'll see later on in the course, but remember just these two things. Okay, now as far as the equation for the option value goes, okay, we'll since we have introduced these mu and delta t, mu and sigma along with the delta t, let us try to evaluate the option value in terms of these variables. Okay, let us say that we have an asset. Okay, we have a portfolio which we're considering as v minus delta times sigma. This thing is just as what we had seen in the binomial model. Okay, let us say the option value will either go to v plus or v minus. Okay, the higher value that it will go is v plus, lower value that will go as v minus in a time delta t. Okay, when we hedge, what we need is the following: v plus minus delta times mu s, because this thing is the upper value of the asset. Okay, when the upper value goes to mu s, say that the option goes to v plus, lower value goes to v minus, option value, when the asset value goes, lower value goes to vs, option value is v minus. We have to have this equality in order for there to be perfect hedging. Okay, use this expression to solve for delta. Okay, this is all you're doing, use this expression to solve for delta. Okay, so then what we have is, when we just plug in case we are assuming that in a time step that is there, the delta hasn't changed that much. Okay, then the delta that you have evaluated using this two values v plus and v minus, if that is the the same delta that was evaluated at the beginning of the time step, what we'll have is that the actual value of the portfolio is just v minus v plus minus v minus divided by v minus v. Okay, okay, what we could do is take this portfolio that we had, the value of the portfolio, put it in the bank. Okay, the price that would be changing by putting it inside a bank is just r value of the portfolio times delta t. This is the compounded, because you're having a compounded interest. This is the amount of interest you will be getting on the particular portfolio if you put it inside a bank. Because on top of that, what we know is that so then what we have is, as far as the portfolio goes, its value after time dt is simply going to be the value of the portfolio times 1 plus r delta t. This thing is the value of the portfolio times 1 plus r delta t. Okay. Yeah. Now because we don't need any arbitrage possibilities, what you had is that whatever portfolio you had, you put it inside the bank, it cannot have much of a gain compared to this particularly perfectly hedged portfolio where there is no randomness and there is just a unique value of this particular portfolio at after a time delta t, which we know is given by this. So this thing should equal to this value. No, not this value, sorry. We want to evaluate the value of the portfolio. So this thing should equal this particular portfolio value. Okay. After time delta t, we know the portfolio will be valued this. That thing should just equal to the amount that was there if you put the portfolio in the bank. Take this value v minus, we evaluate to the delta, that is v minus v minus times mu, and we know that we have to multiply it by vs. The ss cancel, so there is a minus v here. Okay. So this stuff that is there should equal this stuff. Okay, use that to solve for v. If you use that to solve for v, what we get is the following. There is a discounted value of the because of the bank interest rate times something that looks like a probability. Over here what we are having is v plus v minus times p prime. Okay, there should be a plus here. Okay, so this is the kind of value you get with this p prime defined by 1 by 2 plus r delta t divided by 2 sigma. Okay, if you just do the evaluation, this is what you get. Okay, now the thing is, if the stock was basically rising with probability p, we know the stock rises by probability v. Okay, so then afterwards the expected value of the option after time dt is simply what will be the expected value, and a fraction of time, for a fraction of for a fraction of time, for the fraction of cases, you will basically have row fraction of cases, you will have the option taking a value v plus. For 1 minus row fraction of cases, you will basically have the row taking a value v minus. So on an average, what you will have, the expected value of the option after a time delta t is just going to be this thing. Okay, and if you discount it by today, you will have to divide by this factor. The p that is there we had evaluated, p that is there we had said was equal to mu delta t times 2 mu. Now this thing is what you had done by an expectation. Okay, if you had evaluated the expected value of the option, what you see is that the expected value of the option that you're evaluating, okay, using these values of the probability, is actually different from the expected value, from this value that you're actually evaluating once you're hedging the portfolio, etc. If you're changing the mu, okay, wherever you're seeing mu, you change it to an r. Okay, so if you change mu to r, okay, in the values of the probabilities, okay, then you will get and then if you change mu to r in the values of the probabilities, after you have evaluated the value of the option using the expected value of the option, okay, using the expected value of the option, using the information of the value of the option at times, value of the option, expected value of the option using the actual probabilities. Okay, if you change the probability by changing the mu to an r, then you will get the actual value of the option. Okay, so this thing is called p prime that is there, then it's basically called the risk neutral probability. Okay, because it acts like a probability. Okay, but the real probability is this. In the equation for the option value, it acts like a probability. It's almost like you're evaluating the expected value of the option, but changing the probability to a risk neutral probability by changing mu to r. Okay, so this thing is called risk neutral probability. Okay, so what the deal is that the option value today is the risk neutral expected value at a later date discounted to today. Okay, so what we will have is v is equal to the discounted by the expected value. This thing should have been a plus sign. Okay, expected value, you're using a risk neutral probability, you're evaluating the expected value and you're discounting it to today. Okay, that is how you'll calculate the option value today. Note that this thing is a risk neutral expected value, so this is a risk neutral probability, not the actual probability. Okay, the actual probability is something different. Okay, it has a drift. Okay, So the usefulness of this is, is like in evaluating is in doing the binomial tree. Now the thing is, as far as the binomial tree goes, let us consider after a time dt, this thing is happening after a time 2 dt, this is 3 dt, this is 4 dt. Okay, so the thing is, if you're looking at the binomial tree, if you're just saying that at each node the asset can basically either go up or down with the fraction, with the value mu times the value here, v times the value here. Okay, that will tell you value here is v times the value here is mu times the value here. Then what you do is, if you're going along this route, from going from here to here, you're getting mu s. Your mu s going from here to here will be multiplied by mu, will be mu squared s, then it's mu cube s, mu raised to 4s. Okay, similarly when you're going downstairs, if you're going downstairs again, this thing is vs, from here to here is another vs, vs. Okay, similarly once you're having a vs here, you go here, you'll get a mu s. Okay, and then you can just keep going in this direction, and this is what you'll be getting. Okay, so the thing is, this is how you will be getting. First of all, the total number of powers that are there is going to be constant. They're going to be 4, because there were 4 time steps. Anytime any of these things will basically have 4 lines. You'll have to go through 4 lines to reach any of these points. So there will be 4 of these. Okay, and then these values that are there are then, as you go downstairs, the u decreases and the v increases. So this is what we're having. Okay, so European, let us say that this was a European call with an expiry after 4 dt. Okay, then obviously for a European call, that the payoff that is there is just the value of the asset at the particular time minus e. So it's just, and the maximum value of this with 0. So this is what we get, the value of the European call at all these various points. Okay, on the binomial tree. Now what you do is use the formula that we had. The value of the option that is there at the node is basically the expected value, risk neutral expected value. We're using the risk neutral probability discounted by the interest rate. So if we have these two values, I can evaluate the value here. Okay, this thing is v plus, this is v minus. We know the v plus here is this, v minus here is this. Evaluate the risk neutral probability, which we have done above. Evaluate the value of the node here. Okay, by discounting with this interest rate. Evaluate the value of the node here, evaluate the value of the node here, evaluate the value of the node here. Okay, similarly go back, evaluate the value of the node here, evaluate the value of the node here, evaluate the value of the node here. Okay, and then that way you can basically evaluate the value of the node here. Okay, that thing is the actual value of the option that you will be having. Okay, this thing is the value of which the option should be priced. Okay, in case we're having expiry in time r4 delta t, and the assets can only take 2 different paths. It can either go up or it can go down with the value us or vs. Okay, where s is the value at any of these times, any of these nodes. Okay, so this is how you will basically evaluate the value of the option. Okay, now let us consider another thing. What we had said is, these are the Greeks. The Greeks are basically the changes in the value of the option with respect to the parameters in the problem or the variables in the problem. Okay, the thing is, the way to do it using the binomial tree is, you have been given the values of the options that are there, value of the v's that are there at each point of this binomial tree. Okay, so the thing is, in case you want to finally, the main game over here was to evaluate the value of the option at this particular time, right? So the thing is, in case you wanted to evaluate a delta t, okay, in case you wanted to evaluate the value of delta, okay, the value of the delta will simply be, as we had defined, we had also seen it. It is basically v plus minus v minus divided by u minus v times s. So what is it utilizing? It is utilizing, if I'm at this node, and if I'm saying that this thing is the delta at this node, which we had assumed also previously, okay, then what we had is, in order to evaluate the delta at this node, what we will do is, we'll evaluate the v plus here, v minus here, us here, vs here. That thing will give us a delta at this value. So in limit delta t goes to very, very small, this thing is dv by ds. Okay, so just remember, okay, we had used the delta here, but also when I was like doing the hedging, I'd used the same delta over here. The whole idea is that delta is not going to change. The change that is there is going to be of an order delta t squared when going from here to here. Okay, so I could just use the same delta here as well as at this point and at this point. Okay, So this is how we'll be using evaluating the delta. Okay, what about the gamma? Gamma is another thing which is the second derivative. Okay, in case you're going to be evaluating the gamma, what you will be doing is it will be the second derivative with respect to, so if it's the second derivative with respect to v, then it is the second derivative with respect to the deltas, right? So what you could do is you could you could use these two things to evaluate the delta here, the values of the options here to evaluate the delta here. You use these two things to evaluate the value of the delta here. Okay, and then what you have is, once you're having the values of the deltas over here, divided by ds squared. Okay, subtract the two values of delta here and divided by value of ds squared. Okay, okay, not sorry, once you're having the value of the this, evaluate the value of the delta here using these 2 points, evaluate the value of the delta over here. Okay, and then use these two delta differences and divide it by the value of ds that is there, that is u minus v's, to get the value of the delta over here. Okay, so this is how you will basically be evaluating the value of the gamma over here. Okay, okay, here there's a subtlety. Okay, like what I'm telling you over here is that the deltas here are different, right? And I'm using the deltas here that are different, and then I'm dividing that by the values of the s from here and here, and then I'm evaluating the gammas over here. Okay, but the thing is, when I did the evaluation of the hedging, what I did was, I started with the portfolio over here, v minus delta s. Okay, and then what I said was the value of the portfolio here was v plus minus delta s and v minus delta s, right? So the thing is, even though the deltas here are different, okay, the thing is, when what we did is we basically started with the portfolio which we evaluated over here, which was v minus delta s. I mean, this is what we had started off with. Okay, we had started off with the portfolio over here which was v minus delta s. Okay, and then what we did was we basically looked at the values of the portfolio over here at this particular point it was v plus minus delta s plus, oh sorry, us, and this thing was v minus delta us vs. From that, what we did is no arbitrage basically gave us the value of the delta over here. Okay, so the thing is, we are using the delta over here, okay, to say what the portfolio is going to be happening over here. Okay, so the delta that is utilized is the delta over here, not the delta that is evaluated at these 2 points. Okay, because the portfolio created in a time t became something. Okay, so when it was created with the value of delta at this node. Okay, so when it reached this particular point, the value of the portfolio that was there was the value of the v's and the s, which became delta s, but the amount of delta that was there was just the portfolio, was how the portfolio was basically created. So the value of the delta is the same here as well as over here, I mean utilized inside this portfolio values, but the actual values of the delta over here has now changed. This thing is going to be one particular value delta here, another particular value delta here. These two values, when you're going to take the values of deltas, take the difference and then divide it by the change in the asset value from here to here, is going to give you the value of the gamma here. Okay, so is this. Yeah, so next, when we're evaluating the values of thetas, this thing is just how much the value changes as a function of time. So what you do is, on an average, what you have is this thing has gone up, and if you're going to look here in a time t, this thing has gone up to a value v plus, this thing has gone to a value v minus. Look at the average value, which is half of that, subtracted then the value of this thing over here and divided by delta t. In the limit dt goes to 0, this will give you the value of theta. If you want to evaluate the value of vega, which is how the option value changes by delta, then this thing is difficult because for each binomial tree we are basically having the same value of delta. So the solution is construct 2 trees, one with value delta minus sigma minus epsilon, another with sigma plus epsilon. Okay, then at the same value of same position in the binomial tree, you will have one value which is v plus, another value which is v minus. Evaluate the vega as this way. Okay, v plus corresponds to sigma plus e. This thing is, the way I have written is different. V plus corresponds to sigma plus e, v minus corresponds to sigma minus e. You can evaluate the vega as this kind of a method. Okay, So next portion that we will see is American options. The deal with American options is they're different from European options. With the European options, what was there was that at a fixed time in the future, the option can be basically be exercised. Okay, but American option basically give you an option to exercise the option anytime before the before the expiry. Okay, so the thing is, what we have to do is we have to make sure that there is no possibility of arbitrage at each of the binomial nodes, each of the nodes of the binomial tree. Okay, so the thing is, as far as the asset price goes, right, what we do is we do the same binomial tree. Whatever we did for the European option, we do the same binomial tree. We have a binomial tree of the assets prices. Okay, based on that we can just evaluate these. So this is how we had done it. The asset value that is there at the n time step, and the n time step, and the j node from the bottom is going to be given by this u raised to j v n minus j. The way we can see that is just going over here. Okay, so this thing is fourth node. Okay, so this thing is the fourth node from the bottom. At this particular point it is u raised to 4 times s. Okay, if you go one node below, okay, then what we have to do is divide u by, remove one value of u, put in a value of v. Okay, going another step below, remove a value of u, put another value of v, and so on. So this is what is just being done with this particular statement. N time stepped. Okay, what I mean, if it's the jth node from the bottom and you are the n time stepped, what you do is u raised to j, okay, times the remaining factor that is there is just plugged everything into v. So v times n minus j, such that sum of these two powers is equal to the number of time steps. This is how you'll evaluate the s and j. Now once you have done this on this particular node, okay, what you do is you evaluate the value of v and j, okay, of the option value at the same node. Okay, the way to evaluate this particular option value, that is how what you are going to do right now. Okay, the thing is, you could use this risk neutral expectation to evaluate a particular value. Okay, this is what we had done, right? Like say we had the option values over here at this particular node and at this particular node. Okay, this thing was the v plus and this thing was v minus, right? Then we could evaluate this particular value as we had done previously, and this thing was some kind of a risk neutral estimate. Okay, now in case the payoff that is there at this point, okay, the payoff is basically the value of the asset minus e, the maximum value of that compared to 0. Okay, if that payoff that was there at this point, okay, was higher than this particular option value, that you have evaluated using risk neutral methodology, then there is a possibility of an arbitrage, because in case you say that this thing was the actual option value that I've used, this risk neutral value that is there, that is the actual option value that I've used. Okay, then what somebody could do is, okay, if this is the option value I have used, I will buy that option right now at this particular option value. Immediately I'll exercise it, I'll make a payoff which is greater than the option value. I have made an instantaneous profit. I cannot allow that. Okay, so what I should do is, in case this equation is getting obeyed, where the payoff that is there is greater than the risk neutral option value that I've evaluated, the actual option value that I will use is the payoff at that particular position. Okay, that is my actual value of the v that is there, that I will be plugging in over here. If the payoff is greater than what I'm getting from the risk neutral method, I will basically use that as the value of the option at this particular point. Okay, however, in case the risk neutral value is greater than the payoff, there is no arbitrage possibility. I will just set v to be equal to this particular method. Okay, with that I've got from the risk neutral method. Okay. So in essence, how you price this option, the value of the option that is there is just the maximum value of the risk, the stuff that is evaluated by the risk neutral method, or the payoff function at each node. Okay, so once you evaluated it at each nodes at a particular time, then you go backwards as you had done in the as you do with the binomial tree. This thing you can easily check, you can code. In case you're a good coder, you can check the textbook and look at the code or write a code yourself. Okay, now we had done a discrete limit on the binomial tree. If you try to do a continuum question, what we have is the risk neutral method basically tells us the value at the node is basically given by the value at the two v plus and v minus times this risk neutral probabilities and the factorization with this interest rate, discounting by the interest rate. V plus that was there was just value of the option at US t plus dt, V minus is Vs t plus dt, where these are the elements that you have. If you're just evaluating V plus by making a substitution of U here, then what you're having is this thing is a factor of dt, it is S plus a small number, t plus a small number. You can do a Taylor series expansion. Is that what it's called? Okay, Taylor series expansion, right? Or, so what you will have is the first derivative, you have the same V at S, first derivative with respect to S times the first difference, second derivative, this thing should have been 1/2 here, 1/2 here, 1/2 here, okay. So then this is what you will have, 1/2 here, second derivative times this thing squared. Similarly, you're going to have second derivative of this thing squared. Also, you'll have a partial derivative with respect to time times dt, okay. You have that, multiply the value of p prime that is there over here. That is also a function of, sigma r and delta t. This thing is the risk neutral probability. Do that and then expand up till the order delta t. Okay, because you'll be assuming that any powers higher than delta t you'll be ignoring, because delta t is basically going to be much larger than delta t squared or etc. So once you do that and you collect all the terms to the value delta t, you'll have that this coefficient, that is this thing will be the coefficient, and that thing obviously has to be equal to 0, and this is what you call the Black-Scholes equation. Okay, so this is what you call the Black-Scholes equation, and this is what we have. Okay, this thing we will be deriving using the stochastic calculus later in the course, but this is one way of seeing this Black-Scholes equation using the binomial model. Okay.